You're the first guy in. What's up, Deborah? You found me on YouTube. Can't run. Hey, hey. So yeah, I'm gonna wait for this to fill up a little bit more, and we're gonna get into the Q&A part. I really appreciated all of you guys showing up last time. It was really awesome to be able to do this for all of you. Um, I just came out of my women's group. It was really, really powerful. Um, it's an interesting thing to experience emotions around women. I mean, if you told me that 2 years ago, I'd say I'd rather kill myself. There's nothing safe about that, but I'm recognizing that there's quantifiable progress with this. So yes, you're wondering what's today's topic. So today's topic is not anything in particular. We're actually going to be doing a lot of questions and answers, very similar to how we did last time. But I'm completely open to really get you guys a little bit more familiar with the purpose of these lives and what I do in my community, which is what we have a limited offer to till the 14th of June. And I've noticed that I believe it's understanding the complexity that you deserve in order to get a really good understanding of the connection you're looking for. And so a lot of what we focus on is connection because there's no shortage of disconnected, dehumanized people. And we have a really interesting, conclusive society, or I'd say culture, that gets us to focus more and more on how we could separate ourselves from our own experiences. And so we create a slave, more or less, and that's a disembodiment of consciousness. So you remove a person from their body in a lot of ways. You could say even from their ability to experience things within their body. And then eventually they kind of become these dissociative heads that function to avoid that. And so they kind of look for somebody to serve, and they're not even aware of that happening. So, all right, let's get into it. Thoughts on agnosticism, that Earth is really a hellish plane, and we're all stuck in a reincarnation loop being fed off of. Hey, that's just funny, man. I mean, you know that's funny. You're probably laughing at it too. Is it a curse or gift to come from a wounded expression of both sides, masculine and feminine? Well, I mean, you're going to start recognizing that there isn't a person that you know on planet Earth that does not have a masculine or feminine wound. And so it's interesting to say the least that like you're trying to connect with the people that are imperfect, but telling yourself you need to be perfect. It's like there's already your fallacy. By the way, at the component of connection, which is recognizing, yeah, if I'm looking for connection, I have to start recognizing what I myself am unavailable to even express to even me. It's like you have so many constructs that surround your understanding of yourself truly. And so this is something I've noticed, and this is the last thing I ended the group on, which is an emotion is the beginning of you not understanding something. Because in a lot of ways, you don't understand it. But then you have a lot of constructs that surround that emotion. And so you could say, how do I deconstruct these constructs? Because they're confusing. Well, start by listening to them and then get a really good idea of them, and you deconstruct them by understanding them, which is contrary to what most people feel about them. They're like, oh, dysfunction, get rid of it. And then what ends up happening is the thing that you don't know, you start interacting with what you've created around that conversation that even allows you to open up to others and connect with them. And by the way, this is something you could do with yourself, and holy shit, you got to taste the richness of your soul first. And so these are all things that I teach in my community. Because I wish it is that simple, by the way. It's right under your nose. You could do it yourself. It's just a question of if you really want to. Because, I mean, like, you're going to start recognizing that, like, you've made more commitments to your own neglect than you have towards the best version of yourself. And you might say that you like that, but then you'll realize you just like telling people that more than you actually like doing it. Because doing it costs you something, and it costs a tremendous amount of sacrifice. This is a beautiful question. Ami Ramirez. I actually didn't say it right. What is the importance of confrontation in any relationship with family, friends, etc.? Here's the thing that's so beautiful about confrontation. We tell it to other people as a way is like, oh, because I need to communicate something. Well, you have to think about confrontation this way, that you're not willing to tell the people you love the truth unless you're willing to agree to have vicious confrontations. Confrontations is the basis of a healthy relationship because at the core of a confrontation is protecting them from yourself. So you're thinking that you shouldn't have that conversation. You probably should, because the alternative is becoming a resentful, poisonous son of a bitch to everybody around you, or even worse, by the way, repressing that and then creating a narrative how you're the one that's bringing your family together as they're all stepping on you. And of course, not only do you get to feel like the powerful hero, you're also the wounded victim at the same time. And so confrontation is the basis of a healthy relationship. If you don't know how to do it, you're not ready to be in a relationship. You often say a woman should support a man's mission. This is a good one. But what if her calling is not just a support, but leadership with a feminine mission? Um, you can tell when somebody's not really connected to something based off their question. And don't take that personally, but I'm only saying that because it's quite revealing that you don't even know what you're saying. And that's because you should probably get more clear with that, whatever that is. Seems more like an opinion than it is really a belief. When a woman should support a man's mission, it's not me telling you should. It's just a question of what happens when things are balanced. A healthy leadership in a relationship is kind of blurry because it's just a question of what's front end or back end. But all women really know this at their core, which is if I'm really supporting my husband or my partner, then I'm leading the relationship. And so there's a component of leadership in the feminine frame that I feel that women have denied exists. And is it harmful to women? It's terrible for women. And of course, it's neglectful to men because they need your support and you're built for it. And so the whole point is being able to recognize that a lot of women have insecurities around their femininity, thinking it's weak. And the part of that has to do with cultural conditioning, but also a lot of it has to do with people's experiences in their childhood and vulnerabilities that they don't know how to interact with as a woman. Because it's incredibly difficult to exist as a woman. And this is what I was talking about in my community, which was that this conversation is really important because a lot of the work that I do, especially with what we are doing here in my community that we're going to be having till about the 14th, the doors close then. And remember, it's the best opportunity to get access to it now because you'll start getting a much better idea of what I'm talking about. Is that this isn't narrative based. No, this is based off of reality. And you have to start recognizing that conversation is incredibly uncomfortable and it's one that integrates you with it. And you could think of it this way, like, what if you didn't have to run away from your vulnerabilities as a woman or even as a man? What if those are things that speak to the best version of yourself and in fact the manifestation of your gifts? And there's nothing you could do to solve them, which gets you to live with something called your humanity. And you could stop feeding your dysfunctions. And then you could start opening up. And by the way, not just opening up, you could start living. And I think that at the core of all of this is you could start loving. And there's very little of that. I'd love to see more of it. I'd love to see more real connection, more real love, more families that are based off of truth and not this idealistic, puritanistic presentation of them, but two people who are truly committed to becoming the best version of themselves, giving that evolutionary roadmap for their children. And so this is the place where we do it. I'm not sure I could do it here, but for everybody who's listening, you could comment on the most recent tile we have with the word promo, and I'll send you the link myself. And when you guys go ahead and get that, you guys can, it'll give you more information. I'll just give you more of that on the other side of it. Anyways, back to the question. I got unmatched today on a dating app because I said I don't use social media often. Yeah, you should recognize that's exactly what dating apps do. People don't matter. You've put yourself over the other side of a screen and have allowed yourself to be interacted with that way. So that's what's going to happen. You talk about what is psychological is self-serving and what is in your heart is given. How does someone open their heart, connect to it, and live with it? Again, please. Veranda, great question. Great question. So psychology has a hubristic component to it. It has a vainful component to it. Even personal development does. Because really, what are you studying? You're studying the confinements of yourself. Everything that makes up who you are on a psychological level. So you could become partially quite self-obsessed with that. The heart is the component of you that doesn't exist with centricity. It exists with service. It's the reason why we're the most afraid of it. It's because it's the most vulnerable in that sense. Because, if your mind is only left to what you could do to yourself, right, or what you'd be willing to do, but then that's your fault. You can't really blame anybody else for that. I think we're all willing to accept our own mistakes if we know it's our own. But the heart is an invitation. The heart is a manifestation of extension. And so opening up your heart is not an easy thing to do because you need to be able to accept everything that's on your mind. And that's tough because when working with a lot of clients, I've realized that it ain't easy to recognize that you have a story you tell yourself based off past experiences, and if you can just accept that those experiences will never change, I think that there's a part of a person that opens up. So this isn't about running from your mind, more than this is about recognizing that maybe everything that's on it is designed to protect you from what is on your heart. And so once you can get to that point, it's like there's a drop off, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna be having a video about that soon and be posting it here. Can you move your phone a little? There's a clicking coming from it. I hope not. What are steps I can take to begin my own healing after suffering massive betrayal from my family by reporting my ex-husband for sex crimes against children, our own children? Ooh, you guys weren't expecting this today, were you? Now you'll watch the inner lawyer in me come out. What do we got here? Well, okay, you're dealing with more than betrayal. You're dealing with a tremendous amount of dark nature. And I think you're recognizing that not only are you not safe from it, not only are your children not safe from it, you're recognizing that this is an unescapable part of yourself you need to address. And so I like to kind of look at things in the context of that story, because when I have to help somebody personally, you have to get them connected to that, because you're going to need it. This is going to be really, really tough, because not even your children are safe from this part of you. And so I feel like a really good question to ask yourself is, there's a lot that you're rejecting about you, a lot of dark nature that you're rejecting about you that is undeniable because it exists in your family. Don't separate yourself from it. Don't separate yourself from it. It's your family. And a lot of the time we don't like what we see in our family because it's a reminder of ourselves and parts of ourselves that's unescapable, like blood in a family. So yeah, a lot of this has to do with integrating your dark nature. Again, another thing that I really speak about in the community, I really highly recommend that you look into that, because this is not a small little thing that we're going to go into. No, learning to integrate your dark nature is a lifelong process. And I want to share this with everybody here, and I think you will find this really beautiful. There's never a story of a man who voluntarily faces his darkness, cheats on his wife, and abandons his children. There is always the story of a man who avoids it, who cheats on his wife and abandons his children. And it's interesting because that's the exact thing the ego wants you to do. It wants you to create a narrative where death is the answer. Because death is the answer for most people's life. It's like, if I could, die on the cross, I'm sorry for everybody here who probably doesn't understand what that really means, but I'm painting into the altruism you tell yourself. If I could die this man devoted to his faith, then he dies a saint. No, but really he was a repressed motherfucker who was a year away from fucking everything over, or even destroying his own children. And so this is a really important conversation for you to have. You can go ahead, send me the word promo. It's on the recent tile that we just posted, the one about your ego's checkpoint. I'll be sending you guys the link there. It's the best opportunity to get access to this, and I'm not joking when I'm saying this. It's damn necessary, because the narratives and the stories that you're going to be telling yourself in the direction that you're going to be going is not going to be one that gives you peace. And by the way, it's right under your nose. You can do it yourself if you want, but you don't have to. Tim and Miranda, most people don't know themselves. Therefore, they don't have awareness that they have any wounding, which creates a whole new wound in and of itself. That is true. That's the wound that I really help people with. And it's not just the woundings itself, because I'm not going to do anything about that. I think you're going to be able to recognize a little bit about integration. That's the easiest part, recognizing it's there. You never wanted to get rid of it. You never wanted to get rid of it. You wanted to love it. And I think a part of us has peace understanding our humanity, and that this is what it comes with, and because there's so much strength that comes with it, and we wouldn't remove ourselves from the source of it. And yeah, the big one that we're having right now is cognitive dissonance. It's a modern disease, and unfortunately, way too many people have it. And it's the separation from themselves. And we're getting more and more of that. And there's fancy words for describing it, but at the end of the day, it's really difficult. You seem like the type to like BDSM. You're funny. 2 a.m. in Thailand, and I'm waiting for you. The funny thing about that question is that you're not wrong, but not in the conventional sense. I feel like a lot of the time, the BDSM community is like a group of people who can't accept this part of themselves, so they enter a community to experience it, so they still feel shame for their sexual expression. So yeah. No, but yes. If a person is in a situation where he considers him or herself weak, may be in extreme low self-esteem situation, and consider others better than blame himself and everything, what should he do? In esteem questions, difficult one. I didn't get a lot of clarity about that. Damn, bro, you're mad handsome. I gotta get like you. God bless you, man. Thank you. Thoughts on IVF? Humans born from natural conception versus forced conceptions, and how society furthers goes toward artificial wombs, the implications on society. I think you guys would like this. So, I've been recently speaking with a plastic surgeon about. It's been crazy shit actually. About what really helps people, because I really like to get people closer to their humanity, and opposed to feed their dysfunctions, and what their insecurities really represent is that they can't really get away from them. And a cosmetic solution is not a solution. It just depends what you perceive as a solution. And I think that this really comes down to a question of values and what you value about life. And so you could even say some people value the progression of people, and that would be people who don't value life. Because to value life is to value everything that comes with life, and that is change and growth. That is an essential component to allow somebody to experience it. So it's very interesting, because we're going to be doing a lot more stuff like this on the YouTube. So just guys, hang around. There's so many things happening. Even the stuff that you guys are watching right now. I would love to show you even more recent stuff, but if you notice, my hair is shorter in that video because that was 5 months ago. I have to be able to focus on my clients, and the way that I make my content is not exactly chronological, but I'm really proud of the stuff that I have here, and I'm just so grateful for all of your support. Really mean it. Really, really mean it. Shout out my girlfriend. All right. Partners should support each other, full stop. Amen to that. How do you deal with somebody who can never see the other person's perspective, no matter how much you try to reason with them? There is always a but. Love that question, because holy shit. You have to start recognizing when certain people are unaware of what they're doing. Even when you try to get them to become aware of what they are, it's part of their manipulation. And it could completely unravel you. So there's a really important rule of thumb. When you're talking about perspectives, you're talking about something different, because I'm rereading your question. Because when you're talking about perspectives and trying to get them to see it, really ask yourself what you're trying to get them to see. And why is it so important to you? And what does that mean about them? Because if you're talking about a perspective, it's a whole different question. Like, I was at dinner the other day, and I was disagreeing with the table about what makes a convert a convert. And there were these two girls on the table who went through the Jewish indoctrination system, more or less, by the way. I say it full disclosure. I think that a majority of the people that have went through the religious institutions are not connected to the religious values, despite what they tell themselves. And these girls were like, oh no, I don't think that makes him a convert. I'm like, so what does? And they didn't really have an answer. And then they're like, well, I think we can, we just have a difference of opinions. I said, no, this isn't an opinion you have. You don't even believe in what you're saying. You can't even tell me why you believe what you're saying. You can't even source it. So we're not having a conversation our way. And so I've noticed that a lot of the time people talk about perspectives. Really what they're talking about is a narrative that they use to protect themselves from something that gives them power. In a lot of ways, you pull away one thing, you begin to unravel all of the person's attachments. So I always like acceptance, though. But you have to start recognizing how damn tough that is, too. To be supportive is to have support. By choosing to support a man is, in essence, supporting your femininity. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a very big lie that supporting a man doesn't serve your best interests as a woman. That lie is deeply painful. I love your hair so much. I do too. God willing, I can keep it. You give advice to women all the time. But I like to give people a little bit more than advice. I like to give them a deeper connection with their being. And I feel that that's when they have to stop looking for advice. They have to start looking for a network of people that can help them maintain and preserve that. How do you know about man love, true, real with women? Can't answer that. How do I connect to my inner child? I had adult responsibilities at age 5, became a mother at 17, and have always felt disconnected from myself, never felt safe to be myself. How do I find myself? Wow, Claudia, great question. Really great question, Claudia. Well, I mean, you're not working with much, right? You're being an adult since you were a child. I think you're going to be able to become a little bit more familiar with how you're still doing that now. It's because what we talk about, trying to connect to a period of ourselves of innocence, like a period of innocence we had. And I think you can kind of ask a little bit about, like, okay, there is a disconnect to that. Like, maybe even with your own children, do you feel like you lack that in you? And I feel like a lot of that has to do with beliefs. Because what a lot of people associate to their childhood is freedom of expression, freedom of being, play outside of outcome. But those things all exist outside of your experiences. And so I feel like that will really help you. I feel like you're trying to go back to a memory when you were 5. But most people don't start remembering things until they're around then. And also most people don't have really beautiful childhoods. But what I feel like inner child work is really about is a truth that exists as a past, a present, and a future. A part of you that exists for the sake of your own existence. It's like it is the ultimate state of being. The child is the embodiment of all potential. It is the thing that was and that still exists. And I feel like if you looked at it that way, as more of these things are what a child represents is so much more. And I feel like in a lot of ways you're disconnected from a lot of those representations. And I feel that you're looking to a meditative result of an experience that wasn't there when the experience was trying to communicate a much larger truth. And a lot of the time we confuse experiences as the thing that allows us to understand the truth. No, the experience is definitely an advantage to getting closer to a much larger truth that exists outside of the experiences. And I feel that if you look at it that way, Claudia, you're not limited by what happened to you. In fact, actually, you're right where you need to be. Do you believe about young man love older woman? Yes, you're right. I love family first. Um, Hi, Daniela. How can you start identifying our dark traits in order to connect to them, our humanity, a me or me as? Ooh, how do you start connecting them? So I've been liking this recently. At the core of all shadow integration, all integration of your dark nature is, you guys won't like it, accepting your selfishness. Now, don't end that conversation too soon. You want to be as selfish as you can be. And you have to start recognizing all of the beliefs that you have around selfishness. You might even associate selfishness to evil, or selfishness to wrong, or selfishness to immoral. You couldn't be more wrong. And I believe that a lot of the people that talk about how they reject their own selfishness are secretly the most selfish people and internally empty and the most likely to be selfish 20 years into a marriage and really show you what a vicious son of a bitch they are when they just get up and leave. I hope that's a good answer. Our capacity for good is equal to our capacity for evil, or the branches reach as high as the roots go deep. That is true. Much easier in practice. Start experiencing that and you will have a tremendous amount of doubt in humanity's goodness. I love psychology, but I've been integrating something recently, and it's that the humanity component is that psychology doesn't become psychology anymore, and that your life becomes a story you can experience. And when experience becomes at its core, then the analysis becomes secondary. You get to experience what the analysis is pointing at. Should a person be a pretender or real when is undergoing through extreme low self-esteem? Real, real, real. So account admin, that's what your account comes out. I noticed that UDM promo. This is for everybody who wants to get access to my community for half off for a lifetime. I will not be increasing it. It's only going to be progressively getting more and more expensive. I opened this up at this point in my life because I believe that it's at the point in my life where I really believed in it. When I first opened up my community, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I was like, digital stuff, will get me out of there. I saw how much good that it did because I was there. I have my bi-weekly Q&As in the community along with all the coursework. And I realized that, selling a course makes me want to blow my brains out, just an emotional feeling that I have around it. And I didn't want to make that. I wanted to create a community. I wanted to create a community that I was a part of. And it's one where I can help you integrate the work along with me. And everybody's there with an intention. And I noticed that a group of people that all come in there with the same intention. I mean, magic's real. And I've seen transformation that I didn't believe could happen with that kind of space. So if you did DM me promo, you have to comment on the most recent tile we posted on the community. You could just comment promo there and we'll send you the rest of the information. Love your content and your work. You truly have opened my eyes countless different times. Thank you so much. Should I give him another chance if he has done the inner work? Probably not. I really like that one. I like that one. I like what you're doing there. I'm not going to feed your dysfunctions. How do you think a man withdraws from a relationship when the woman loves him more? It's not true. Okay, so there's something interesting there. Emotional unavailability is a much bigger concept to have, and I feel like is much more difficult than people understand. there's a tremendous amount of vulnerability in loving, which is why it makes it so courageous and why it's a virtue. It's not a baseline. It's not something that you would typically do unless you understood its value. So people who really love really understand its value. They do it despite what other people will do for it. And so there is something interesting when a person withdraws from a relationship. There has to be a part of you that's willing to confront them. But in the midst of the withdrawal, you have to see what's really running the system. Like in a lot of ways, you think that what you're giving is love, but in a lot of ways, you're seeking something from him that makes you feel good about yourself. And that's the reason why these dysfunctions need to be addressed, and it's right under people's noses. Again, this is more stuff that we focus on in the community. This is what happens when people smoke too much pot. Absolutely. How much, how can I communicate my truth if I know what the most of my experiences come made up story? As a teenager, do you recommend the advice you give us? Absolutely. I always think about the advice that I give to people as giving it to the youth. I believe that it reinvigorates people later in their life and it allows people to feel more connected with the evolution of mankind. And so everything that I'd be giving you right now would be what I'd give to somebody who's younger than me. And by the way, if you want to know something really beautiful, my biggest inspiration, I mean, honestly, a person that showed me the strength of innocence and has returned me to something I thought I had forgotten. My nephew, he's 14 years old, just had his birthday. You know what's so beautiful, man? There's like the ones that could surrender to the experience and they have a space to do so, they do just fine. You know, a lot of the time we talk about advice, and all advice is really there to get you connected to a state of being. And that state of being allows you to really get connected to your humanity. And then you no longer become a mystery. And no longer does life, not in the way that it traumatizes you, but in a way that excites you, that invigorates you, that lights you on fire. And it makes you wake up in the morning and just try to expand the capacity of love that you can give the world. And I see that. I see that in my nephew. And it's effortless. It's effortless. Choose people that have reciprocity, respect, consideration. Any advice? So, Christina Vargas, good afternoon. Any advice on how to make an avoidant open up about their feelings and be vulnerable? Nothing you can do about that. You don't ever make somebody do something that they haven't made a commitment to do for themselves. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And as a woman, well, I don't know why it's such a mystery to you. You just amplify the man's commitment with himself. Like the other day, I was with a girl and it wasn't serious. We weren't serious with each other. Not in the like, oh, let's date for marriage kind of thing. And it was a really powerful experience. I'm going to leave it here because I believe I'm going to have to head out in a little bit. I honestly want to keep doing these. This is not going to be our last one. We're going to have our next one on Instagram, then our last one on YouTube. And I really like this question, Christina. I wanted to go into it. Is that you might be looking for him to validate something that you yourself have, that you want him to have, that he doesn't, that he never had. I recognize what I was really committed to when I was in an imperfect situation, in an unideal relationship, in an unideal situation. Somebody that you're not serious with or seeing the long haul with. You're just having fun. And somehow we look to the other person as a way of security for what we wouldn't express ourselves. And so what we try to do is we try to find a person that allows us to experience ourselves when you couldn't be more wrong because you create the ideal in the unideal. And so what I notice is very interesting about the avoidant attachment theory as a whole is that really this has to do with an individual and what they're committed to. And a lot of people don't live with their emotions. They don't live with their humanity. They don't see the benefit in them. And I'll tell you one thing, the people that do not see the benefit of their heart pay the price in their relationships every damn day. Because when we're talking about relationships, we're talking about your heart. When we're talking about your heart, we're talking about something that exists within you that you yourself can experience. And so when we're talking about connection, which is, by the way, the basis of transformation towards any real transformation, you can't skip that step. You really can't skip that step, and you can't fake it either. And so I think there's a certain point where you should recognize not trying to get him to open up, inspire him with what he's initially committed to, and he'll do it on his own. Women are unaware of how much power they have, and it's unfortunate because you guys like fucking play the whole thing, but you know you're too busy trying to be like men these days. It's unfortunately detaching you from the one thing that made men look to you to begin with. All right, maybe let's do one more. Okay, let's do this one because it's fun. It's polyamory. It's just an act that a man uses as an excuse they are afraid to connect to. Yeah, it's a narrative in a lot of ways. It's a way to create distance. It's also a really, really shallow argument. It's not very, it doesn't line up with a lot of things in reality either. All right, everybody. One last thing. This has been such a pleasure. Really has been a pleasure. Everybody here who's really feeling like they want to take it to the next level, I mean it. The community is the place to do it, and it's the best place to do it now for the lowest possible price that we have it. So go ahead. You guys can comment on the most recent tile that we have. Comment the word promo, and we'll send you the rest of the information. God bless you guys. I'll see you guys in the next live.